Yo, 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 what's up, y'all? This is the real Duncan Trussell, Alpha Duncan Trussell. As it turns out, I had a brain parasite from when I went down to Peru and ate some bad Peruvian food on top of a Mayan pyramid. A parasite had apparently climbed into my neocortex via my esophageal passage and burrowed its way to the deepest part of my brain and had transformed me from an alpha male into a simpering bitch. So do me a favor and go back in your iPod and delete every previous Duncan Trussell Family Hour. All that nonsense I was rapping about how we're all just expressions of a divine, transcendent, universal love field that wants to articulate itself through our words, thoughts, and actions, and how the ultimate thing is love, and that all that matters is to connect with your fellow man or fellow woman and do what you can do to serve them and bring them a brief amount of happiness in this short blip of existence. All that was nonsense, hippy-dippy burning man, hummus-soaked, hacky-sack, patchouli-smelling bullshit. It was like a turd dipped in a gree-gree bag and covered with patchouli and oils and rolled around in beads and put in the hands of a hippie child who was eating it like corn. I want you to regurgitate that and now understand that this is the real Duncan Trussell Family Hour, and this is where we talk about real talk. So if you're one of those beta bitches that's afraid of getting down to the deep shit and talking about real talk, like what's going down at the UFC, what's up in football, or how to get bitches, then I suggest you go find another podcast. There's plenty of them to choose from for a bitch, and only a few for those who are hard and aren't afraid to go deep. So if you're a pussy, I will see you later. Evacuate the premises. But for all of those of you who ain't afraid to stick around and talk about real talk, welcome. What's up? Fist bump through the internet. Yo. And so now, to get things off to a good start, I called up one of my best buds, one of my bros, Snake. He's a pickup artist. He's the author of several books, Getting Laid with Snake, Snake's Dick, and How to Make Your Dick Sing by Snake. These are great books. You can pick them up. They're self-published on Amazon.com. But before you do that, let's take a listen to this little conversation I had with pickup artist and ladies man Snake about how we can all go out and get our dicks sucked tonight.
Hello.
Yo, what's up, my nigga? Damn, it's been too long, Snake. You're on the Duncan Trussell Family Hour, bitch.
Wait, this Duncan?
Yeah, who the hell you think it is, crazy ass bitch?
Damn, son, your voice sounding deep as shit.
That's because I got that parasite removed from my vocal cords.
Oh, that's tight, yo.
Yo, you sound a little under the weather. What's up? Got a kissing cold?
Yeah, I got a disease from, I've been over fucking, and I got me some hepatitis.
Some what? That sounds like some crazy ass pussy shit.
I was putting my Bozar in too many warm wet holes, and one of them had some bacteria on it or something.
What the hell's that I hear in the background? Sounds like a heart monitor. You in the hospital, bitch?
Yeah, I'm in the hospital, dog. I don't know, man. I've never really been this worried about anything, but the doctor said it don't look good. I might have got myself in trouble, Duncan. All my good expertise fucking might have led to my demise after all.
What's your nurse look like?
She's tight, yo. She's real tight. She won't, but since I got this disease all over my Bozar, she won't let me fuck her.
How's that dick looking up in that hospital, all fresh and clean and antiseptic and all?
Well, you know, I do have to say that the dick, all the problems are internal on my dick, so the exterior of my dick is still smooth and luxurious.
Then you're on your way.
Yeah, you're right, but I don't know, Duncan, man. Maybe there is more to life than just fucking all the girls I see. Maybe, what do you think happens after this life?
Shit, dog. like I'm gonna think about that. I don't know. You go up to heaven and fuck an angel.
I mean, I didn't used to be, I wouldn't say I'm a religious man, but I've always been spiritual. I mean, I'd always thank God every day for the amounts of pussy juice mingling in my pubes, sometimes up to 6 or 7 different kinds of pussy juice all mingling and tingling all in my pubes and my ball hair. But now I just don't know.
So they got you up there, and your dick, is it in one of those hospital gowns or what?
They have wrapped my dick in it's an antiseptic cloth, but it also moisturizes it. And they've been the nurse does come in and shave me.
Oh man, what's that like getting your pubes shaved down by that hot nurse?
Well, you know, it's pretty similar to doing it yourself. It's just, it is kind of pampering, though. That is one of the plus sides of being in a terminal ward at a hospital, is that they do treat your dick right, and they will trim your pubes very, very. They groom you very well. Unfortunately, I fear they may be grooming my pubes, because when I have an open casket funeral, I will have my dick hanging out of my pants.
I'll be in the front row being like, that's my boy's dick. But you ain't gonna go down like that. Now, enough of this hospital, terminal, train terminal bullshit talk. Let's talk about some of the listeners out there who want to get laid tonight, want to get their dicks sucked. What's the best way to put that signal out to the world where you're like, hey ladies, I want to get my shaft slobbered on. I want to get this sausage deep down your gullet, into the top of your lung tissue, etc., etc.
Well, I mean, what I would like to say to everybody listening out there is, maybe take a moment and look around you and see how beautiful the world is, and maybe it's not all about just burying that bozar deep in a hot, wet hole. Maybe you could help your fellow man every now and then. And sometimes if you see a hot bitch swinging from a pole, maybe you don't just take her home and try to give it to her anally. Maybe you find out what went wrong and you try to help her get her life on track.
So you kind of got this life message there, you know. So you're saying if you want to get that dick sucked, you throw out all that, some of that God shit, and she'll be slobbering on your pole. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, Duncan, I appreciate your interest in my sex life, but I gotta say, this is a very scary time for Snake, and I feel very lost, and this time in the hospital has given me time to reflect on how I've been living my life, and maybe I shouldn't have been so selfish and decadent and such a glutton in so many ways, and I could have, instead of having so much sex, I could have given so much more to humanity, and now I'm scared, Duncan. I'm scared. I don't know what happens. I don't know what this is all about. I mean, do we just wind up as worm food, or is there a God in heaven, or do we do this all over again? Are the Hindus right? This is almost too much for Snake to handle. Duncan, I'm scared, man.
What kind of food they giving you up in that piece?
I don't. Let me see. I got some applesauce over here, and I had a turkey sandwich earlier with mustard. They won't give me any mayonnaise. I guess mayonnaise aggravates her hepatitis. Then I got a Diet Coke.
Hey, I know you're scared, bro, and everybody's out there is rooting for you. So all whimpering aside, one last time, why don't you take a look down through that hospital gown and give us a little dick report?
Well, I mean, Duncan, I gotta say, I hate to let you and your listeners down. You guys have always been a great pleasure for me to communicate with, and I've always gotten tons of great fan mail. But I gotta say, I don't want to sound weird, man, but you are one of my closest friends, and it would mean a lot to me if you could just come down to this hospital and spend some time with me. And man, I could use a hug, man. Just a hug and some compassion and just a good friend. I just need a good friend right now, man.
Well, I'm going to see The Life of Pi tonight, so I can't make it out tonight. But maybe in a couple of days I'll roll up there and say, "What's up, bitch? So feel better?" take some aspirins, stop being such a pussy, and when you're feeling better and stop that bitch whimpering, then you'll be back on the podcast again talking about your dick.
I hope so, man.
So that was my man Snake. He's feeling a little under the weather. I'm sure he'll turn the corner. I hope he does, because he sounds a bit like a bitch up in that hospital room. You know, men out there, it's your responsibility to not show emotion no matter what. Go watch some John Wayne, some Cool Hand Luke, and you'll learn how to deal with that thing that comes into you when a feeling happens, and how to push that down deep so you don't feel nothing, and you sure as hell don't cry in front of a bunch of people. Now, this next segment was when I was still talking like a bitch, and before I got my parasite removed, but I feel like I should play it because, you know, one thing I did do when I was a beta male was I started the Iron Lord Meat Shift Challenge, where I hired a real man, a trainer by the name of Tom J. Dieters, to get us all in shape, and he's going to check in with us every single week. So I'm still going to play that, because, you know, there's nothing more important than getting ripped so you can get the bitches. So now everybody checking in for week 2 of the Iron Lord Meat Shift Challenge. I kind of like that name. I guess the parasite didn't corrupt all of me. Checking in with us is Tom J. Dieter saying, "What's up?"
Okay, guys, here it is. Iron Lord Meat Shift Challenge week 2. As promised, we're reporting in. How's it going?
I'm good. Happy to be here. Thank you.
So I've done nothing.
This is Tom, by the way.
They know you by Tom. I
have no idea who's sitting on the couch right now.
Sure they do, because I should have said I intro this.
I'm just playing.
Tom, I've done nothing.
You can see the look on his face right now, people.
Nothing. You left. I was really. Let me tell you what happened. Here's what happened. I was really inspired. You left, and then I think that day I was like, all right, I had a steak. I'm gonna make a steak, and then I cooked this steak and got food poisoning and got sick for like a day. And then after that, I went to Austin with Rogan to perform, and then it was just like sitting at some table with one of those lazy Susans and fried food on it, drinking whiskey, and then I bought, like, the other night I was with a friend drinking wine and eating candy, watching horror movies, and no exercise.
Did I have any of that written down for you? Was that on the to-do list?
No, you said just walk around the block twice. And I didn't even do that.
Well, here's the good news. This is what I wanted to say when I came in. We just all have to accept the fact that we're not perfect. And just because day one happens and you meet your trainer, or you find that gym, or you get inspired, or you hear a story, or you watch a little motivational thing on TV and your eyes tear up and you're like, tomorrow morning, but what if life happens?
Yeah.
See, that's the thing, is I always say this is great when you write down on paper what your decision is. That's awesome. Now, do you really want it? Well, what do you mean? Well, what if this and A and B and C happens? See, that's that thing, is will you do this even though these things happen? And even if you can't have the start you wanted. Because again, we're going to start something today, and as well as we did on last Thursday, something that you're going to do the rest of your life.
Right.
So you can't really, and that's the thing, our biggest battles are between our two ears. They just are, because no matter how good you felt with me on Thursday, you got in your head and started judging and critiquing you. And then what good are you? Even if you felt a little better, say Sunday, Monday, were you ready to just, well, I'm going to go for that walk around? No, because you just you pummeled yourself. I felt bad. I got food poisoning. I ate bad.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Now I just literally suck. Well, that person isn't going to go, you know what? But I'm going to go do that workout that Tom asked me to do.
No, it feels very, I don't think it's like I suck, but it definitely feels like there's like a sweaty, greasy, fat teenager who is like, fuck you, man. We're not doing this shit. That's what it feels like. It feels like there's a part of the weird part that's rebelling against
and
this.
Again, we discussed your age. So for X amount of years, you've been doing A.
Yeah.
We just talked about doing B on Thursday. So you can't expect any of those habits or any of those feelings to really leave you because you had a good conversation one afternoon.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying is your
Right.
body has been really patient with your choices.
It's a nice way to put it.
Okay, so now you have to be patient because you're going to work out for a while and not really feel a whole lot different, not really maybe see, a ton of differences. But that's the really, like, anything of true value is never easily attained. It's just not. So you have to kind of keep, all these cliches, your eyes on the prize.
Right.
This is what I'm going to start doing this. Not I'm going to get off to the best start in the world and I'm going to be perfect.
Right.
I mean, I'm going to start doing this thing. I'm going to change that little pattern, that little direction of my life. I'm going to start today. And you did. You came into my house. We started the podcast. You affected some people. It started.
Right.
Now, it doesn't mean you had a perfect start and you got a bunch of workouts in and blah, 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 blah. It's just we're going to start gradually moving. And that's why I don't, like even on the first podcast, I didn't want to come up with, okay, this is what everybody should eat. And this is how many calories. And this is how many grams of protein. It's like, let's just start.
Right.
And now and I love that you had the situation you did because you're like, oh, Tom, it was perfect. I walked twice, I stretched once, I ate perfect. Your listeners might go, oh, well, that wasn't. I struggled. It's cool when people have empathy for someone else. So when you share, that's what I wanted you to do. Share those things because I'm sure there's some people out there like, yeah, I was all fired up and then I just got busy or this happened to my friend or whatever. So it's like we just have to know that this pursuit will not be one of perfection. And that, I'm telling you, 9 out of 10 times, that'll be the biggest battle. Will just be, oh, I got busy. And that's clients, a lot of my clients I've had for years now. And one of the biggest things they say, it's like, well, I got busy and I did this and I did, so then I didn't have time. And I said, well, that's my point. We'll put on the priority list me on the bottom. When I get done with work and errands and giving and paying bills, then I'll do that thing for me. And after 16, 17 hours, you go, oh, I don't have anything left to give to me. Well, I agree. You should go to bed right now. But what if you would have just put that in somewhere or throughout or done little things?
Right.
And again, this is our second time meeting, bro.
Well, I wish I could say it was because I got busy. Like, I don't really even have that.
Then you left and you traveled. And I know, I asked permission, and Chris Hardwick, the guy I trained that we know, said I could mention his name, so I just wanted to...
Oh, cool. Chris Hardwick, Nerdist. This is Nerdist Trainer. Yes! Celebrity trainer.
Just wanted to be...
I knew Hardwick back in the day.
And he's changed in the last
He's
7.5
massively
years.
changed. Way back when, he used to puff smokes and be a little on the chubby side, and now he's this lean...
mean fighting machine.
Warrior.
Exactly. But even when he traveled, that's when it got tough in the beginning. You know what I mean? Because sitting in a car, sitting on a plane.
It's really hard, man.
It's hard.
Because you
really
go to
hard.
these hotels and the bed's so comfortable. They have a gym, but you're like, there's cable. I don't have cable here. You end up getting hypnotized by cable, watching Nancy Grace. You're jerking off with a lotion, and then you go and do your shows, and you're celebratory afterwards. You're drinking, and then the next thing you know, you're back in the bed, kind of like a little buzzed, and like you got to wake up in 4 hours to get on the plane, and then you get back to your place, and you've gotten 3 hours.
And again, just know that familiar is not right, wrong, good, or bad. Familiar is just familiar. What we talked about sounded cool on Thursday, but it's just unfamiliar right now.
I really want to do it, man. I really want to do it, but I've got coming up, I'm going out again this Thursday until Saturday.
We're going to come up with a little rule because I sent you a text.
Yes.
On Saturday.
Yeah.
And I said, welcome to the first day of the rest of life. How are you? Hope you're doing your food journal, your homework. And I never heard back from you. So now this week we're gonna start having some rules.
Okay.
Because I train everybody specifically to them once I get to know them.
Yeah.
So that's the thing is like, oh, we're gonna meet today and then you're gonna be out of town. So I'm gonna give you homework. And one of those right now, say on air, is I send you a text, I get a reply.
Done.
Because now you just have to be a little accountable. In a way, it's kind of like, well, God, it sucks.
I get it.
But that's the thing is just embrace it going. And here's the thing. Deep down inside, I want you to grasp this right now, Duncan. Okay. I am in your corner more than you are in your corner.
That right now, that's for sure. I can see that.
So it's like you just kind of take this little part of your life and you go, I'm just going to slide it over to him. I don't have to think.
Yes.
Because I'm going to say, oh, you don't have to do anything today. Oh, cool. Or, hey, here's your cheat. You know what I mean? I'm going to tell you. And if it's like, oh, should I do more? No, you don't have. Like I said, I left last week and I said, what? Walk twice.
Didn't even do it.
Didn't do it. But I didn't say, hey, I need you to run an hour every day and get 5 workouts in, and I need you to only eat chicken and broccoli and drink water. I didn't say those things to you. So I'm going to tell you, minimum, maximum, so you don't have to think.
What are some things people listening who don't have someone to text them to stay in shape can do to replace that?
Listen to your podcast.
Okay, guys, that's it. We're going to have to hold each other accountable. Go on the message board. Find people to hold you accountable. I'm going to report in. I want to get into this workout. Is there anything else you could say to everybody before?
No, I just want to, just reiterate that I think it's great that you went through. It's like, oh, I had this great meeting. We did this podcast, and then I kind of failed.
Yes.
It's like, because that's normal. People just don't start and, oh, it goes wonderful. And wow, I lost a bunch of body fat. And hey, I got a new job. And you wouldn't believe on the way to my new job, I met that person who's going to, you know what I mean? It doesn't happen like this. So I'm glad that you're sharing this. I'm glad you went through what you went through. And again, in 6 months from now, in a year from now, we'll remember this time.
A year from now, we're still having this conversation.
No, but the thing I said during the first podcast, I said we're going to slowly pull large stones into your foundation.
We're all
looking for those stones right now. We haven't found the stones, and we got to slowly pull those stones in. So it's going to take time for you to go, oh, this is what I need to do for me. Because this is the thing. You kind of want to drink the Kool-Aid, but you're not fully a believer that if you do these things, you're going to just feel better. And that's kind of that, hypothetically, it sounds cool. Hey, he's a positive guy.
Yeah.
I kind of believe him. And then, like I said, life happens. You're like, oh, but that's the thing is it'll become a part of you. That's like, you know what? If I get up and do this, I don't feel guilty. I don't beat myself up. I'm going to have more energy.
Right.
And once you start doing that, see, then that, everything's habitual. Good things and bad things, they are habitual. We just got to start implementing, forcing, mentally, manually turning your perspective to get you to start going, you know what? Screw it. I'm deeming myself worthy. I see this little figurine of Tom on my shoulder, chirping in my ear, going, don't eat that, eat this, go for a walk, stretch. Oh, I hate him, but, I'm feeling better.
Right. I will say this, that already started out. There was definitely throughout the entire, since the last time we met, there's been a great deal of cognitive dissonance.
And that's
I've
because you started.
Eggs into my mouth.
And that's because, like I said, the most important thing I said to your listeners was you started. Not, did you start last Thursday and were you perfect over the weekend? No, did you start last Thursday? I believe you started.
You know what else I did? I will say this is so pathetic. This is what I'm proud of. I will say this. At the shows in Austin, I was doing your one glass of water per
There you
drink.
go. See?
No hangover at all. I felt great. Then I woke up, I was like, whoa, I feel.
See? Now those are the little incremental things. We're like, I'm going to drink this guy's Kool-Aid. I think I'll have another cup of his Kool-Aid today.
The water trick worked for sure. So there's that. But yeah, other than that, pretty bad. But next week I think is going to be better. Next week's going to be better.
You think?
Yeah, I feel like.
You know.
I know.
Nice. Did you hear that, people?
I know. Next week. Okay.
Love that.
Should we get to the workout?
Let's get the workout in.
All right, let's do it. You guys, this is week 2, Iron Lord Meat Shift Challenge. What's the lesson? Don't be hard on yourself. These are little steps that we've got to take. Drink a glass of water with beer. Do not eat steak that smells like the gas coming out of the burning Hindenburg. And be careful. Okay, bye.
Man, that's hard to listen to, hearing my voice sounding like some raspy lesbian trucker that's been smoking Marlboro Reds as she delivers her trailer full of butt plugs down to Beta Town. Makes me a little on the sick side, but there's nothing I can do about it. Now let's do a little bit of business, and we'll get on with this podcast with the great Alison Rosen. Here we go. Yo, what's up, y'all? It's me, Alpha Duncan, and y'all know as well as I do that there's nothing the ladies hate more than a man who reads. It makes them sick to come home from work to their husband or boyfriend sitting on the couch with his nose buried in some book. It makes them think they're with a beta who they don't want to reproduce with. It's not attractive. No one likes to see someone reading. It makes you feel nervous because you can't trust a nerd. And you can put that on my tombstone because I got it tattooed on my bicep just this morning. So, what do you do, though, if you want a little bit of entertainment and you want to enjoy a book is being read by a professional level actor. Now, as many of you know, I was in musical theater, and I give props to all those who are in musical theater like I was to get laid, not because we like to do that, art, whatever. So, these books are read by trained actors, people who have experience in Broadway's areas, and so they're very entertaining to read, and they're wonderful to put in to your ears whenever you start having feelings. If a feeling comes into you of any kind and you want to distract yourself from feeling like something, then all you have to do is pop in some earbuds and listen to a wonderful audiobook. And there's so many audiobooks available at audible.com that it will literally make your head spin, and you will be so delighted to know that there's so much to distract you from whenever those thoughts come into your mind that you think that maybe, you're not exactly who you've been telling people you are, etc., etc. So go to audibletrial.com/family hour and sign up for a trial membership, and you will get a free audio book, and we will get $15 to the Duncan Trussell Family Hour. Also, some other ways if you want to support my new bitchin' rock solid fist in your mouth, down into your throat podcast. You could go to DuncanTrussell.com, join the forum. You could get all the current nerds and new age intellectual philosophical types out of there. And for all of you on the forum now, no more talking about Minecraft, no more book clubs. I don't want to see another post about the benefits of marijuana in treating cancer, and I don't want to see any kind of inspirational messages posted there. It should only be about sports, and I guess you could talk about FIFA, but that's it. No more of this nerd shit on there, y'all. So, if you want to go support the new Duncan Trussell Family Hour, go to DuncanTrussell.com the next time you're picking up some kettlebells from Amazon.com, some weights, or some Gold Bomb powder. Go through the Amazon portal, and they'll give us a percentage of what you pay. It's not extra on your part. It's just the folks at Amazon want to support podcasts that are teaching people to be alpha males instead of being cowards and wimps, etc., etc., etc. And as always, this podcast is covered and promoted and sponsored by the wonderful Shore Design T-shirts. Shore Design T-shirts, that's a company in Thailand that makes soft, silky T-shirts. And if you're a real man, there's nothing that makes you more jealous than when you see the soft, silky clothes that women get to wear. And so many of us would love to feel what it's like to wear a nice soft blouse, not in the gay way, but just because, there's nothing better after a workout than to wear some soft, silky clothes. And Shore Design T-shirts is as close as you can get to wearing ladies' clothes, because it's so soft, and it feels so good against your skin to wear that soft shirt and the soft hoodies and all the other wonderful shirts over there at ShoreDesignT-shirts.com. So, if you maybe don't want to man up and put on your ladies' underwear, well, the second best thing is going to ShoreDesignT-shirts.com and buying one of their shirts. Go check it out. If you put my name in, Duncan, you will get 10% off. And to all of you who have been donating to the podcast, much love to you for keeping this podcast afloat. And I know that maybe those of you who have been donating to the old version of me, it's going to take some time to get used to this new version of me, but hang in there, it's going to be worth it. And guess what? If you don't like this new version of me, you could suck my dick, bitches. Now, before we get this podcast going, let's listen to a little Les Miserables, my favorite musicals. It's coming out December 25th. Everybody who is a brilliant journalist, comedian, an all-around amazing human being who's got her own podcast called Alison Rosen is Your New Best Friend, which is a favorite of mine. She's a news correspondent on the Carolla show. You've probably seen her on Red Eye, on Geraldo, and multiple other television-type, entertainment-type media formats. Everybody, please, now welcome to the Duncan Trussell Family Hour, the one and
Welcome,
only
Alison Rosen, to the Duncan
Alison
Trussell Family
Rosen.
Hour. How are you?
I'm really good. Thank you for having me, Duncan Trussell. You know what I like about, there's many things I like about you, but I'm just going to start off with this one.
Please.
I like that you don't do the thing that a lot of people with podcasts do, which is you just start recording the minute the person shows up.
No.
And so that then they don't know when the whole thing started. I like that I know when it started because as I've said it before, I'm very much not myself on air.
You're not.
I'm joking. I actually am.
I think you are. Your podcast is, you're so much yourself. When I did your podcast, I felt like, I felt immediately at home, like very quickly, like super comfortable. And
Thank you. Yes, I actually am myself. I'm joking, but I just mean that I prefer to know when it's actually starting.
right. Instead of just like being slammed into a place and they
Yes.
shove a mic in front of you and expect
Right.
you to just get going. People are weird, man. Like
Well, what I find is that, well, like Pete Holmes, our friend, we talked about him on the last
Dear
podcast
Pete
too.
Holmes.
People are going to think I'm obsessed with him because this is now
everyone's obsessed with Pete Holmes. He's like
100%
he's got
of the time
the glow.
when we talk about him. But yes, but anyway, yeah. So I just know that I was like, have we started? And he's like, oh yeah. I'm like, so you got all that interesting conversation where I talked about me trying to find a parking spot.
Oh, that. Yeah. I do not like the old the one thing I don't like, and I don't think Pete did this on purpose, but sometimes they'll leave the thing recording hoping they grab a little tidbit of some glorious private bit of information that they can blast out into the internet. I hate that. I don't like getting tricked.
TMZ?
Yeah, these TMZ fucks, these podcast ambushers who want to... You know?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like you're doing a favor by being on a podcast. Mm-hmm. Like this isn't Bill O'Reilly.
Right. And it's not 60 Minutes either.
Yeah. And you're not the President Assad. I'm not like trying to back you into a corner about why you're slaughtering your people.
Yeah. And you're also not Abu Nazir. That's a Homeland reference. You probably don't watch Homeland.
I'm into The Walking Dead right now.
Oh, are you? You know, I don't watch that, and I feel like I should because I feel like a lot of conversation and culture is passing me by right now.
That's weird, isn't it? Like, because it gives you, it's like conversational. It gives you a little tool, right? Yes. A launching off point to talk about something and then get into something deeper. Because zombies are a great stepping off place to really get into it. You know, that's why people are responding to zombies so well right now, is because there's this seems to be something changing in society where people are beginning to stand out more if they're hypnotized than ever before.
Do you think it has to do with technology? And the reason I ask is I remember years ago, I worked for Time Out New York, and I forget what the story was, but it was like a bunch of maybe like scourges that were hitting New York or something, kind of tongue in cheek. But I remember the editor-in-chief at the time, and I always remember this line. He referred to people walking around listening to their iPods as, it was iPods at the time, there weren't iPhones, as the white corded undead.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. That's it. It's the hypnotized masses. That's why we're subconsciously responding to zombies, you know, because all zombies really are is retarded cannibals, basically, right? That are undead.
I never thought of it that way, but yes, I suppose. Yeah, it's a mass of people moving who lack awareness, basically, right? Of situational awareness.
They all have the exact same desire. Right? They all are craving one thing, to eat people, and they have no situational awareness, and they're also somehow can generally only be killed by a shot to the head. Mm-hmm. So they're all in their head. I guess the symbol is there's people who are completely in their head, motivated by one desire, operating as a herd, and that's pretty much what we've got in society today. Is people all in their head but interestingly enough, who all think they're individuals. Well, you know what I mean? They all think
Yeah.
they're doing their own thing. But like when you go to Best Buy, you're one of the zombie herd
Right.
descending on the entrails of corporate America, trying to devour whatever material you think is going to satisfy you for what that moment, or is going to like be a symbol to give someone else. And you think you're doing something new when you're there. Like when you're there buying the DVD, the CD case to make this mix CD for your girlfriend, you're like, it's all about you, but you're just like all the other locusts.
Well,
right?
I think that especially in this is not as sinister perhaps or as what you're describing, but if you notice baby name trends,
Oh, yeah.
I doubt people are like, I'm going to name my daughter Sophia because that's what everyone else is naming their daughter. I think that when you name your kid, you think you're giving your kid an original name.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that everyone else had that thought at the same time. And I think it's just like, I know that, I walked around thinking like one day, maybe the name Olivia, I like that one, or these other, or Abigail. Actually, I don't know if Abigail's popular, but these names that on my own, I just thought, it's a pretty name. I haven't heard anyone name their kid that for a while. And then you look at the list and everyone else had that thought. It's so weird.
Right.
I know of two. I know of a Trixie Lulu and a Trixie Lula.
Crazy.
Both of them Beatrix. These are two babies.
That
currently.
is
I know
so-
two babies. It's weird.
That is weird.
Yeah.
That's an example of, that's exactly the same thing. And it is goddamn sinister. It's like the whole naming process is the strange and sinister thing. When you think about it, you're assigning some permanent label to this poor little pink thing before you even know what it's like,
I know. And yet I find...
or brown thing or black thing, depending.
Right. Or yellow thing.
Or-
Or purple thing if things didn't go right.
Yeah, if it's fucked.
Yeah.
Blue thing.
Sometimes they're actually like modeled like blue and red and pink and whitish. I think
They are modeled when they come out of there first. They're all fucked up, man. But it's a strange thing, the whole naming system, But it's interesting how human beings follow these identical trends. Like we're all
Right.
a wave. Like if you can get far enough back, it's just a wave, and we're the individual water particulates. But we all think that we're doing something special, yet we're forming this very predictable wave that is what creates history. And that wave, the frustrating thing is we do everything by accident, and it's okay, even though it's still a wave. But the moment you start noticing like, oh, we're still all doing the same thing, why don't we all start trying to do the same thing on purpose instead of by accident?
Yeah,
That's when people start freaking out. They're like, you fucking communist, what are you talking about? You like eugenics? You want to like control reproduction?
Right. That's not what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, or maybe it is what you're
You know what I
saying.
mean? You know what I'm talking about? It's like
Yeah.
instead of like pretending that we don't, it's the whole thing where, we're a passive aggressive species. It's like when you have someone who like is always fucking shit up, but is like, I don't know, I guess I just have bad luck. But they're always fucking shit up.
Right.
That's what we are as a species. And if
Yeah.
you want to call the person on it, you're like, no. You're doing this on purpose for some subconscious dumb reason.
Well, then the person will say, because I've had conversations like this, like, I can't control how I feel. Can't control my feelings.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you can't control your feelings, but you can control your behavior.
Yeah.
So start there.
Yes, that's it. You can't control your feelings. You can control your behavior, humanity. And, so you get this shit where it's like everyone's acting like a victim and like everything what we're doing is accidental. And it all adds up to the apocalypse because everyone's sort of blunt pretending they don't know what they're doing. But the more you're like, look, here's the obvious thing. We have to control reproduction. We have to get rid of all these old honkies running shit. And we've got to, you know what I mean?
Now, when you say control reproduction, do you mean stop having unwanted kids? Or what? How do you mean?
Certain people shouldn't be allowed to have kids.
Okay. Bad people.
Well, yeah. I mean, people who don't have, people who can't afford to raise kids shouldn't have kids. And people who are addicted to drugs shouldn't have kids. And people who, have like, who are abusive.
Yeah.
And people who like to fuck kids shouldn't have kids. And people, you know what I mean? There's a
Right.
whole slew of people who should not be having kids.
But how do you think we implement this?
That's where I shut up real quick. I don't know. I don't know. That's not my job. But you just know this shit's got to get regulated.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just, but even saying that stuff, even when you start saying like, oh, we must regulate human reproduction, people start getting real tweaked out. Like, oh, how could you say that? That's your right. You want a new world order. It's our right to breed.
Yeah. That's why I was asking, because I was trying to figure out whether you really are talking about eugenics or not. It sounds like you're not, though. You're just talking about, hey, how about dumb, non-aware, sort of malicious, whether by accident or on purpose people, how about you not recreate?
Yeah, that's it. But then you've kind of got to, you unfortunately would have to enforce it in some way.
Yeah. Well, I think the sad thing, and there's a movie about this, the name is escaping me right now, but the sad thing is that the people who, oh, this sounds like such a judgment, and here it comes. The people who are, I think, smarter and maybe more able to bring kids, or the people that maybe you or I would think should bring kids into the world, a lot of them are waiting longer and longer, and it's the ones that maybe you and I would be like, oh, really? They're the ones who are shooting out kids.
That's damn right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
like you and I have not together or separately had children.
Yet. Never say never, Allison.
Right. And today could be a wondrous day.
Let's make a baby.
Okay. What would we name it?
Abigail?
We're going to check the list, whether that's on there or not.
So now, to get away from this concept of controlling human reproduction and to get back to you.
Okay.
Would you consider, you're a journalist. You consider yourself a journalist?
Yeah. It's been a while since I've written for magazines, but that is what I did, for years and years and years. So I say writer now, but
right.
Yeah, that is. And I'm starting up a column in like January, February. But yes, I guess I would say journalist.
So, because I've watched your clips on the internet of you on Red Eye, and you are so fucking good at that.
Thank you.
That is a rare talent, because I always picture what I would do in those situations, and I would freeze the fuck up. Like being able to instantly fire back with like brilliant witticisms in the face of like some of those right-wing assholes is amazing.
Thank you.
It's really a cool talent. How do you prepare for that? Like when you're doing those shows, how do you...
They give you the topics ahead of time, the
right.
stories. And oftentimes at the beginning with Red Eye, they didn't request it, but now they do. They want talking points. So, and the first time someone asked me for talking points, I was like, yes. What are those? No one has ever defined talking points to me. I still am just, this is what I think it means. So I'll just write back like, here, okay, about this story, I'll write like a few sentences about what I think about it. So I think they know that if they go to you, here's sort of like they could tee up this kind of response or that. But I always go back and forth on whether if I have a joke about a certain thing, should I send that or should I let that be a surprise if I'm going to use it? I don't know. I actually just did Geraldo over the weekend.
God damn.
And that is a show, when I lived in New York, I had done it a few times, but I had, like, all of a sudden they called me. It's really been a couple years. And I used to do a lot of commentary on different news shows, like all the time. And I was, if they called me last minute, I was always able to do it. I kind of prided myself on this, like, you called me 10 minutes ago. It's 7 a.m. Sure, I can be there at 8 and I can be funny and I can know what I'm talking about. But it had been so long that I actually found myself getting pretty nervous ahead of time, thinking, what if I've lost my ability to be able to do something like this?
Right.
I did it and it went well and it was fine. But
what did you guys talk about?
We talked about the Petraeus scandal, and we talked about whether Susan Rice is being scapegoated. And we also talked about Jill Kelly and Paula Broadwell.
Jesus goddamn Christ.
I did a lot of reading ahead of time just to make sure that if they asked me a question, I wasn't going to be like, I have no idea what we're talking about.
These bastards are so obsessed with fucking Petraeus.
Yeah. Well, that's what I said. I said, I think if these people were short and fat and not in positions of power, people would have tired of this story so long ago. Like the whole thing is like a music video or like an art house film where it's like captivating images and I feel something when I look at it, but at the end it's like, what did all of that mean? Like there's not really a smoking gun.
There is a smoking gun. There's a smoking gun in the hands of all the fucking soldiers that Petraeus told to kill people. What about that? That Petraeus sends naked pictures of himself. How about the fact the guy massacres people? He like orchestrates massacres. How come no one talks about the fact the guy's a fucking butcher? If someone's a general, that's a serial killer. That's a human butcher. That's all General Petraeus is. He's a fucking like creepy old slithering old Afghani child bombing freak. Who cares if he sends pictures of his dick to people?
Yeah, well, he didn't actually send pictures of his dick, but I know what you're saying. I am always uncomfortable with the way that the military is sanctioned killing. And we look at it so differently than just a person going out into the street, unlawfully killing. But I'm very uncomfortable with killing and with war in general and hunting. Where are you on hunting?
I'm fine with hunting.
You are?
Oh, sure.
How?
Because I eat meat. If I'm against fucking hunting, I'm a weirdo. Like I'm for organized slaughter of animals that put, to eat a cheeseburger, but I get weirded out when hunters go out in the woods and kill something in the wild that has to be culled anyway. You can't like logically, though, you can't really work that out in your head. If you eat meat, and you're against hunting, it's weird. Now, if you don't eat meat for ethical reasons because you think that we shouldn't kill animals because they suffer, it's still weird that you're against hunting, because if you let deer populations go uncontrolled or pig populations go uncontrolled, they will tear up the fucking wilderness, especially pigs. Pigs are like little meaty locusts. They just they just fuck and make more little wild pigs and more little wild pigs, and they will go out of control. So there is, unfortunately, there is a need for predators in the wild.
Yeah, I know, and I know you're right, and I do eat meat, and I'm a hypocrite, and I'm still uncomfortable with the killing of living beings, but not so much that I'm doing something. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like I think that we should outlaw meat. I'm just saying that is something that but then again, I also feel, I believe that it is more humane to spay and neuter your pets, but I'm uncomfortable when I think about it because I think, are we sure about that?
Yeah.
I think it is, but I wouldn't want to be spayed or neutered.
Well, it's that, the killing of humans, the killing of animals, the killing of anything all falls into that spectrum of the cycle of life that most people don't like to think about too much, which is like the spring part, we like the babies, puppies, kittens, and then we like the summer part, romance, falling in love, and I guess the fall part, the mellowing out with your kids and kind of like reminiscing over your life. But man, we sure don't like that winter part, do we? When the jaws of the Grim Reaper come tearing into our lives and devour us, and when everything gets chewed to bits and blown up and set on fire. But that does seem to be a fundamental part of the cycle.
I know, it's necessary. It's necessary.
You know about the Hindu Trinity?
I don't think I do.
So it's like Brahman, Vishnu, and Shiva, and each of these gods represent the different parts of that cycle. So as opposed to like Christianity and some of the other like desert religions where God's like always good and that other stuff seems to be like a weird accident. Mm-hmm. In Hinduism, it's like, no, there's a God specifically related to the blowing up of things and the devouring of things and the destruction of things, because they recognize the whole thing is part of the natural cycle. And the Vishnu is the preserver, the present moment, what we're in right now, the worship of the now. And it's really just an interesting thing that getting to the point where you acknowledge that sort of the devouring.
Well, if you embrace the dark and the light, then where do you stand on things like human suffering?
Well, regardless of where you stand, you can, right now, if we had multi-screens all over this house and we could tune into like the dark frequencies, we would see
be like the most depressing Best Buy ever.
Kids getting fucked in the mouth, people getting dismembered by Mexican drug lords. The worst things that you can imagine
Right.
are sparking all over this planet at light speed. You know, probably even worse than what you can imagine. Sex slavery, all this stuff is happening. So your stance on it is always probably going to be, well, that's awful. But regardless of your stance on it, it's still in existence. There's no way to.
But is it even worth it to try to help those situations or to try to prevent them? It might be futile to try, but is that a worthwhile goal even? Sure. Or is the goal to just have an awareness and an acceptance and like a more sort of I don't know if it would be Zen or Buddhist, or I don't know what the right way to describe it is, but just sort of a like, I'm just letting it all flow through me. I don't have a judgment about this.
What do you think? What do you think's the answer?
I think the answer is to do what you can to help or ameliorate the situation. I mean, yeah, I think
What do you think that is, though? You clearly have, because of your job, because of all the appearances that you make on these hardcore news shows, you have to understand, you have to have a really astute understanding of what's happening in the news. You must, right?
Well, I mean,
compared to other people,
maybe. Although the hard news stuff, I don't feel like I'm as steeped in that as at different times I have been for, different jobs and things. Right now, I do the news on the Adam Carolla show, and that is we do talk about like the lead stories of the day, but we don't go super in depth on international politics or things like that.
But what do you think? What's the because what do we
scares
tweet? Are we
me.
supposed to tweet? What do we do? What's the action that people are supposed to?
Oh God, I wish I knew. I wish I knew. Like I remember shortly after 9/11 thinking I was never I just somehow wasn't aware how much the world is in the grips of different ideologies right now. Like this idea that we're somehow more evolved or more advanced than we were in previous times in history is wrong.
You think so?
Well, at that time I did. Yeah, I think I kind of do. I think that, I remember before 9/11, I thought that wars and violence and all the things on that grand scale were things that were in the textbook and they were in the past, and that we were living in this time of peace, which in retrospect was naive, because that wasn't really taking into account what was happening everywhere around the world.
Yeah.
But then 9/11 happened, and then I began thinking that it was silly of me to think that something like that wouldn't happen in my lifetime. And really, when you look at it on the scale of like the how many people died in that's not even that big compared to a lot of things.
Nothing.
It was very local and very surprising to me.
It was shocking.
Yeah. So the idea that in general people are better and more peaceful and more understanding and all the things that I would want them to be, I don't know. Well,
I thought the way you're thinking, and then suddenly I started realizing something. Like, if you look at what's happening with Israel right now,
mm-hmm.
it's an awesome example of what happens when people have access to information and really see what's going on. Because what's happening now is, whenever Israel accidentally drops a bomb on like an apartment building where there's no terrorists there, and you see the anguished father carrying the broken body of his child out into the streets, And he's got that look on his face like, oh, this is a nightmare. I'm in an inescapable nightmare because I live in an open air prison, basically, that was created by Israel, by displaced people who got zapped down and are displacing another group of people. But when that happens, or when you see, which is happening far less because Israel has much greater defense, but they're still blasting missiles at him. When you see an Israeli kid getting blown up, this gets transmitted all around the planet instantaneously, and there's a reaction that happens in a huge way where the whole planet's like, no,
that's true.
No, we're all saying, no, you can't do that. You guys have to stop doing that. Whereas 200 years ago, you could go rampaging through any village that you want. That you could decapitate 7,000 Palestinian children, rape their parents, and like set everything on fire. And it's going to take a long time for that info to get around the world. And if it did get around the world, it'd just give you street cred so people wouldn't fuck with you as much.
You're right. Actually, there is something hopeful about the way that technology has led to a global consciousness.
Yeah,
I suppose. So you're right. I don't think that people can get away with the shit they could get away with a long time ago.
Yeah. There's an instant shaming that happens when you see these motherfuckers, and they're all motherfuckers, whether it's the head of Hamas, whether it's the fucking Assad, I don't care who it is. But when you see these creepy old warmonger leaders come out and try to like act like there's something rational about their dealing with problems by killing kids, they all are starting to look crazier and crazier and crazier. They don't seem normal anymore. They seem fucking like serial killers.
But do you believe in a military at all?
Yeah, I do believe in a military. It's like that Richard Pryor joke about prison, where he's like, I was in prison, and I don't remember that. He's like, we need prisons because, some of the people in prison are fucked up, but we definitely need a military. I mean, there's no question about it. You need a group of well-trained people who can handle the occasional like freak out by tyrants and dictators and those sorts of things. Yes, we need a military. But what we don't need is it shouldn't be a for-profit industry. Yeah. Because the moment it becomes a for-profit industry, well, then you just have vampirism, because army is based on defending is what it's supposed to be. It's based on defending, not conquering anymore. There's really nothing else left to conquer, is there? So we're not into conquering. It's about defending. But whenever you're making money off of killing people, whenever you're converting human lives into money, well, you're a vampire. Like
I caught so much shit because I said on the Adam Carolla show that I think that there are certain people who want to go off, who enlisted because the idea of killing someone appeals to them.
That's true.
And so many people were like, how can you say that about our brave soldiers? And I was like, I'm not, you know what? It was when that story came out, I think about the photos of the soldiers pissing on dead. I forget who they were pissing on, but something upsetting like that. And maybe I was like, you got to, consider the psychology of someone who would want to be part of this. I'm not saying every single one of them. In no way am I saying that at all. But I'm just saying this is not a draft. People are voluntarily signing up for this.
Sure.
And if you're someone who thinks it might be fun to shoot someone, this would be a good place to go. And I say that as someone who knows, like there's someone in particular I know, a person who like scared the shit out of me in my own life, who then I found out he went off to Iraq. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Right. Because I knew a guy who like when I was a kid would like set cats on fire and he turned into a cop. Does it mean, you know what I mean? Does it mean all cops are sadists who want to like torture people and have power over them? No. But if you are a sadist and you want to monetize that shit, it's a great business opportunity.
Does it mean all gym teachers and priests want to touch little kids? No, but if you do, those are a couple great vocations.
If you're an ambitious pedophile, being a gym teacher is a great choice.
I think the pamphlet says that.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So it's like, that's funny that you got you got in trouble for that. Oh, the fuck! Come on, this idea that every single person who like decides to get in the military is a goddamn saint. Give me a fucking break.
Thank you.
A lot of them are super cool though, but not all of them. And and a lot of them are getting like I mean, I get emails from people who have PTSD from what happens over there, and they get the real brain rattle, because it's like, but you see these motherfucking commercials for the Marines, and it makes it seem like you're going to be in the Starship Enterprise. Like the videos that they show, it's like people with headphones on working in these kind of like high-tech facilities that are clearly air conditioned. They're wearing like cottony clothes, or maybe someone's kind of like running through a field. They never show you holding your best friend's intestines as you desperately try to like understand how you survived and your friend got killed. They're like, this is going to, pay for college for 4 years. But they don't acknowledge that probably when you do manage to get to college, you're not going to be able to sleep anymore. Like, remember that you're going to be waking up in the middle of the night, remembering the time you accidentally turned your gun on a fucking kid because you thought he had a bomb, and you saw that kid's face evaporate into fucking tomato sauce. Remember that as you're looking at every book for the rest of your life. You're going to have the neurological afterburn of the fact that you accidentally dropped a bomb on the wrong village. And come on, is that really worth a college education? It fucking sucks, man. I mean, this whole idea of soldiers, when I meet people in the military, they're always amazing, and I always think these people need to be here. They don't need to be over there. It's not them that are fucked up. It's the people who are running the show. These fucking Petreuses, these withered old husks, these soulless fucks who have no problem killing. That's the problem, man. And also, not to continue on this weird rant, which I don't even know if it has a point, the thing that was to me the most cloying about the pissing on bodies scandal was no one cares that they made bodies.
Yeah.
What about the fact that they made bodies? How about that? The precursor to pissing on the corpse was you opened up giant holes in that being's chest. And that guy probably had a brother, some kids, a dad. He was living in an occupied country that he was born into. And all of a sudden these fucking honkies came out of the sky in super advanced ships.
Yeah, I know. There is an argument, which is not the one you're making exactly, but it's sort of like, well, who cares? They're dead. Yeah, they're dead.
They're
but
dead.
And that's that really weird, uncomfortable thing we do where we try to negotiate, well, here, what are the rules of killing? Like somehow it's more palatable if it's killing, but we do it in a respectful manner as opposed to just strafing people, which when you think about it, it's weird that we put these parameters around it, yet I think there should be parameters.
Well, I mean, that's the problem. We want to make ourselves sleep better at night because, like, the idea, rules of engagement, rules of war. Listen, bottom line is you get a bunch of trained fucking Marines who've been taught to kill for like years and years, and you put them in a place where it comes down to, am I going to survive with my friends, or am I going to like let myself get killed so some Afghani kids can hang out? Those kids are hamburger meat. They're not. No one's gonna like. I don't. In that situation, I don't know what I would do. When you're in that situation, you're like not really thinking about like ethics. You're just thinking about basic survival, and they know that. The people who are running the show know that, which is why they teach. One of the conditioning mechanisms they use is this is about keeping your fellow soldier alive. Yeah. That's what it is. Always have your fellow soldiers back. That's it. So you create this situation where the first priority is your team, the team that you're fighting with, the platoon you're fighting with. And then as far as the ethics, the morality of the war goes, what you're doing, you're not even supposed to think about that. You're a chess piece that's being sent on.
See, in general, groups frighten me. Fraternities, team sports, any sort of even corporate team building exercises, anything like that, there's a part of me that gets creeped out because I think anytime what's being taught is don't think of yourself as an individual, think of the health of the group, then you're creating a cauldron for something unethical to happen.
Oh, yeah. Big time unethical. I mean, it is unethical. What's happening in Afghanistan is unethical. What's happening in every single war that we're in right now is unethical. There's no reason for us to be there.
Yeah.
None. There's no reason. And you can ask soldiers, what are we doing there?
There's a lot of soldiers would be more vociferous about this than we are, I think. soldiers who are back here
Absolutely.
now. Yeah.
They are vociferous, and a lot of them are like, I have no fucking idea, but what's going on over there sucks.
Right.
So it's like, we know what's going on. This is again, I think part of the shift that's happening in the world, which I'm quite optimistic about, is that more and more people are like, hold on, this is totally, absolutely 100% wrong what we're doing, and people are becoming less afraid of just saying the truth. Obama's a murderer. There's something that like people I think are becoming less and less afraid of saying. Obama is a murderer. He kills people.
Do you think he should have killed bin Laden?
Oh, you mean fucking kill the head of the terrorist network that we've been desperately trying to understand for so very long. Great idea. Let's format that hard drive. Good idea. Let's wipe the fucking hard drive that apparently contains all the information of all the possible future terrorist attacks, how the organization runs. Yeah, let's just fucking shoot him, and then let's push his body off a boat at night.
God, I had never thought of it that way.
Makes a lot of sense. Great. So you know what? Let's send in the most highly trained group of killers on the planet that we've been training for years for this operation, and they're going to just kill him. Just shoot him in the head. Don't keep him alive. Shoot him in the head. We don't need that info. We don't need that. That's fucked. No, he shouldn't have killed him. We should have captured him at all costs. If there ever was a moment to lose American lives to like get that guy alive, that was the moment, because that guy apparently, according to the myth, the legend of Osama, the Bigfoot of terrorism, that guy fucking
right, terror Sasquatch.
Yeah, he's a terror squatch. He's got all the info. But like, no, double tap to the head, push him off the side of a boat. Come on, man. That's ridiculous. But Obama killed him. And Obama's ordered the deaths of American citizens on foreign soil without trial. Gone completely against the Constitution. Obama's a killer. Like him better than Romney.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Yeah, who was I listening to? I think it was Bill Burr was saying, it was before the election. He was on Chelsea Peretti's podcast, and he was saying that it's the same guy. Obama and Romney, they're the same guy, working for the same guy. And I was thinking, I get what you're saying, but I don't agree with that. I think there's definite differences between the two. I think I'm not in love with Obama and what his presidency has turned out to be. I think a lot of people were more hopeful, and I was too, but I don't think it's the same.
Well, I mean, it's not the same, because Romney, they're kind of working for the same guy, but really Romney, the difference is Romney is like...
Well, wait, when you say the same guy, do you mean that figuratively, or like, are you...
Figuratively.
Okay.
I'd love it if there was some like guy in
like
New
the
Jersey.
Guy, right.
But it's,
I feel like he'd look like the Monopoly Man or Daddy Warbucks.
Or just something out of Hellraiser, like with those weird like John Lennon glasses and like hooks coming out of his head. But what are they working for? What they're working for is the exact same thing you would do if you became president, or I would do, or anyone would do, is you would like have the interest of your friends. You would want to like help out your friends who got you into power. That's what everyone's doing.
Right. And that's actually, on the individual level, it's not evil, it's understandable.
Oh yeah,
there's when it becomes when there's a lot of influence, and when you're neglecting things that are more important for that it becomes evil.
Well, yeah, or when you make jokes about it, like the thing Obama did that he should have gotten impeached for that was unforgivable, is he made that joke about the I don't remember that stupid boy band. What's the name of that? The Jonas Brothers or something? Or
I don't think I know this joke.
He made this stupid joke at one of his dumb speeches, because there was like, he was talking about the Jonas Brothers, and now his kids like the Jonas Brothers, and he's like, 2 words, predator drone. It's
I didn't hear that.
Hey, you fuck.
Yeah.
You motherfucker. Take a look at some of the videos of what your predator drones have done to civilians, and look at that fucking barbecued mess. Now, I'm not like, for us, it's like, oh, he's making a clever joke, and look at him play basketball. He's such a cute president. But like, but in another country, imagine being in this country, and you wake up one morning and you have a voicemail from someone who's like, hey, Adam Carolla is dead because a Chinese drone accidentally shot a missile into his house and he got blown to pieces along with his family. So here's the funeral, and imagine that. And then you have TV on and you see the translation of a Chinese president making a joke and being like, 2 words, predator drone, ha ha ha, and all you can think about is one of your dear fucking friends getting blown to goddamn smithereens. Think of how that's going to make you feel. You're going to be like, well, that's Satan. That's the Antichrist. He thinks that's fucking funny. Somebody wrote that joke for him. Fuck that guy. That's a murderer. That's a killer. So there's no, I don't think there's any like black or white either. I mean, any shades of gray there either. It's just like, that's a freak. A dyed in the wool freak. But still better than Romney.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't mean to go on that long. I apologize.
That's okay.
Go on a weird rant like that.
That's okay.
Now, one thing that we talked about in your podcast is like to switch it from geopolitics. You're cohabitating with a guy right now.
Yes,
How's
I am.
that working out?
It's going well, actually. I know that I think we had just moved in together when you and I talked.
Yes.
And there were some things what it was the first night in the new place, I was really tired and I had a lot on my mind, and I felt like if we don't have sex the very first night in the new place, that means that our relationship is flawed.
Yes.
And yet I didn't want to, and I felt pressure, but I was putting the pressure on myself. And then the next day I was mad because I felt like I was just upset at everything, and I couldn't figure out what I was feeling. But yeah, then he and I talked through all that. Like, what I find with him is that a lot of times I will be all like overwrought because I'm feeling all these different things and I don't know what I should be. That's a big thing with me, and it's sort of a problem that I face is I'm always thinking, what should I be feeling? What should I be doing? Instead of just trusting what I feel and what I think.
Yeah.
Or not even what I think. Instead of trusting what's going on inside me, I second guess it and I want to sort of tamp it down immediately.
Yeah.
And it creates all these problems in my life when I do that. So I'll be feeling something and I'll think I don't want to put this on him. I don't want to tell him. But then, he can always sense when something is up with me, because I'm bad at hiding that. So then when I finally just let it all out and just tell him, even with all my disclaimers of like, I know this is stupid and blah, 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 it's always better afterwards, which is actually why I think this relationship is working and will work, is because when we really talk about stuff, it doesn't push him away. It makes us closer. Because in the past, there were times, because despite the fact that I'm like, sometimes I feel sort of hope, not pessimistic about communication, like whether it really works or not. I'm someone who really does have to express what's going on with me. And in the past, when I would express that with boyfriends, it would make things worse.
Right.
And then I'd think, okay, well then I guess it doesn't work when I try to tell you how I feel because you're getting defensive or things are now weird, and then those relationships wouldn't last. So yeah, so cohabitating I was actually thinking about it today. I was thinking, as I was leaving the apartment, I was thinking that as much as I was in love with living alone, and I really was nervous before we moved in together because I was like, I'm now that person who's been living on my own for so long. I'm afraid to give up that independence.
Yes.
But I really do. I've been enjoying it. And I don't know if it's just that maybe I also would have enjoyed having a roommate. It's that it's both. It's that we're in love and I like living with him. And it's nice living with another person. It's nice coming home to a place that feels more like a home as opposed to this sad, lonely place.
Yes. I know what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
But I know the terror of like the beginning to cohabitate. Oh,
right.
Shit, man. That's the big leap, isn't it?
Right. How long did you and Natasha live together?
I think over a year. No, probably 2 years at least. I think about 2 years maybe. And we lived in this tiny place at first, and then we moved into a bigger place. And then, the bigger place is where things started, getting weird and loopy.
But that wasn't related to the bigger place, was it?
Oh, no.
It was just related to...
Oh, it did have something to do with cohabitating. I mean, it did have something to do with the fact that we were in each other's shit all the time. I've heard this saying, or not as... I read this thing about... It's a social scientist talking about how everyone needs to be able to go backstage. Like, everybody needs a place where you can be away from it, like really take off every single mask. And, when you really love somebody, you're wearing a thinner mask than the mask you might wear around most people, but a mask nonetheless. So it's nice to have a place where you can just really peel the fucking thing off all the way and just, be whatever it is you are. That's an energizing moment.
Right, right.
So if you can pull that off, that's when cohabitating, I think that's the trickiest part, is finding that.
And that was something I was worried about. But I work evenings and he works daytimes. So we actually, even though we're together, we always feel like we wish we had more time together.
That's great.
I guess it actually is, because when he gets home from work, I've already left. So he has a few hours before I get home. And then usually I'm home in the day and he's gone. So yeah, it's not, and we live in we found a place that's big enough so that we're not on top of each other.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I lost my train of thought, but yes.
No, that's great. So you've got some balance happening there. That's great, because a lot of people don't have that balance. They're just on top. They're just on top of each other all the time, and it's rough, man. It's such a nice thing to live by. It's such a solitude. It's such a pleasurable thing. But this is the.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. What I was noticing, there was this phase. I was noticing that when I got home, like there was friction when I got home from work, if he was there, or when he got home from work, if I was there. And it'd be like, let's say he was at work and I was at home, and like on a day off, one of my days off or something, so that I would be home when he was getting there. And like all day I would be thinking about him, and I can't wait for him to get home. And he would come home, and then something little would happen, and all of a sudden, like we weren't, like there was just friction.
Yes.
Or the other way around, I would be like, in my fantasy would be like, I would come home and he'd be like, oh, it's so great to see you. And then it'd be like romantic and we'd be so happy to see each other. But that wasn't what was happening. What was happening is whoever was coming home was wound up from work and still in that work mode.
Yeah.
And it just takes a little while to sort of like decompress and be ready to relate to another person. So I made a conscious effort. I'm like, and doesn't necessarily sound that healthy, but it worked. I was like, I am tired. I don't want to be a bitch when I get home. That's not who I think I am. I don't want to be like unpleasant. So I'm just going to be very conscious of that sort of coming and takeoff and landing is how I was referring to it.
That's cool.
To myself. Like, and I'm just going to force myself to be pleasant until I'm myself again. Because if I were running into a stranger, that's what I would do.
Brilliant. That is brilliant. That's brilliant. And it's such a simple thing that people don't even that people don't even consider. That simple idea.
Yeah.
That level of like awesome formality is so important. And that's a problem, is people, when they start cohabitating, they also feel like they can
just be themselves 100% of the time.
Drop the formality. And it's like, no, you need to go into like almost like an old school Japanese samurai style, like weird formality where like you just assume a guise of like what you're saying, a happy person. I think that's very smart.
Because if you think about it, if you're in that mood and you run into someone that's, an acquaintance, you're going to be pleasant to them. You're not going to let all your shit hang out with them.
Yeah.
So, and you actually feel better when you do that. You feel better when you act pleasant as opposed to when you take your shit out on someone.
Yes.
So
it's an affirmation.
Yeah.
Acting pleasant is a positive affirmation that can actually, it shifts you out of victim mode.
Right.
You're like, instead of being because there is nothing, unless you're like into kinky shit, there is nothing less attractive than a victim.
Yeah.
A mewling victim. Oh, was your day that terrible? Really? But when someone has strength and like you realize that they're like I don't want to say the Titanic. You realize that they're like a giant ship.
Right. They're like the Hindenburg. Oh, wait.
No, wait, not even that. They're like a truly indestructible ship.
Yes.
Flying the subjective waters of their lives. They're not getting like washed by waves. That's awesome.
Right.
And then you create a moment where later on down the line, if there's something really bothering you, you can like, once you've shifted your energy state, that's great, man.
But the truth is
Take
that
off and landing. That's almost like a book. That could almost be, that's like a relationship book idea.
Hope John Gray doesn't listen to this.
Who's John Gray?
Mars and Venus.
I'm sure he's in some
not.
bath salts haze right now in Thailand, drinking she-male piss. That guy's a perv. I don't know if that's true. I don't know why I just insulted that guy. I don't know who you are, man. I'm so sorry I said that.
Well, we deduced that he doesn't listen. But here's the thing, though. I do feel like that ship that's buffeted about by every wave.
Well, right.
Do we all?
Yes.
Okay.
We're buffeted. We are buffeted, but we get to control. Like, you don't have to react to your feelings. We get to control reactivity. And this fucking psychic masseuse, I went to this masseuse recently. It was a psychic. She was great, man. And
Did you know she was a psychic when you went to her?
because it's this hippie spa that like after I've been on the road for a long time, I like to go there to try to like detox and get all the booze and just weed and disgustingness out of my system. And she's like, it's really cool the way like real psychics will like work, because it's almost like they're channeling something, you know, kind of like how you'll be walking down the street and you listen to a conversation, but somehow mysteriously the conversation is something you needed to hear just then. That's the way the universe talks to you. And like real psychics, they become like the vocal cords of the universe, and just something comes out of them that's like helping you along or giving you some extra information. And so I've been thinking about love a lot lately, and how important love is, and how love is the most sophisticated mood state to be in. And if you're feeling love, then everything you do is going to be awesome. If you're not feeling love, that's when you fuck up. And like we were talking about this, and she was telling me that, and I'd never thought of this, but she's like, yeah, an expression of love is giving another person space to be exactly who they are.
Yes.
Now that's super fucking cool. That's a cool idea that I never considered, really, that it's like, if you really want to show love to someone, it's like this non-reactive state where you're not, because a lot of people do the game where they're like, I love you,
and therefore I need this.
Yes. Or it's almost like the love is a currency. Here's $20 love dollars. Now will you give me affection back for the $20 love dollars, or will you act the way here's like you're paying a maid almost.
Like a transaction.
I'm going to give you $100 love dollars so that you'll act the way I think, so you'll have sex with me. Some dumb transaction like that. And when the person's like an asshole back to you, then you're like, oh, you're a you're a shoplifter. You're fucking, you owe me some act.
Right.
And that's reactivity, right? So the trick is like to get into this state of just expressing love with no expectation of the reaction of the person.
You can't do things from a place of love and kindness with the expectation that something will come back in return, because that's just setting yourself up for resentment. I mean, you're not talking about specific actions, as it sounds like, as much as just the expectation that you will be loved the way you want to be in return.
From anything.
Well, maybe that's okay to want that.
Well, it's kind of like, if the idea is an expression of love is to give a person space to be who they are, then the higher expression of love will be to give the universe space to be what it's going to be.
Yeah.
So if you just kind of make this decision like, okay, universe, you're going to eventually give me cancer. You're going to eventually give me Alzheimer's disease. You're eventually going to kill my mom and my dad and everyone I know. You're eventually going to evaporate the planet when the sun supernovas or turns into a red dwarf star. You're probably going to wipe everyone's memory when the magnetic poles shift. And regardless, we're all going to turn into dirt. But I'm still gonna let you be you,
Right.
and give you space to be, and I'm gonna express love towards these phenomena that are coming my way throughout the day. And somehow from that, it creates this state where you won't get buffeted so much by the phenomena.
Well, you have to have trust and faith that everything that happens is what's supposed to happen. And I don't mean that in like a destiny, it's preordained religious way, as much as just, well, what is the alternative? I guess just trusting that you don't have to force anything into being.
Yeah.
Just whatever you're doing is what you should be doing.
The best way that I've thought about this state of mind is a really gross way, but when you got to puke and you try to modulate that puke,
Yeah.
you know, you try to control it midstream, like when you're really geysering puke, and then you, for whatever reason, you decide, that's it.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not gonna
You're right. There's always a point where you're like, I've thrown up 4 times in the last hour. I will not.
But and then you're still like, you still have the nausea,
Yeah.
you still have the sickness. So the best way to handle puke is you just got to relax and let the poison go flying out of you.
Right.
You know, it's not a pleasant experience, but once that happens, once it's done, you feel so much better. So it's like, yeah, you know, is there predestination in the sense that there's some toxic old steak in your stomach that's got to get out mixed with margaritas? Yes.
I look at it like hydroplaning, which I don't think I've ever done actually, but the notion of just steer into it. Like you just have to embrace what's happening.
Yeah.
It's hard though. It's hard to, like, as we're saying this, I'm thinking, oh yeah, these are things I actually know. Why do I not adopt that attitude more often? It's hard. You know, just lately I've been thinking about, this specifically in my career, like when I go on auditions and I don't get things, or if I do a show and I only do it once and they don't ask me back or something, my general attitude on every level, a level to which I'm not even aware, is that's fucked up. They're stupid. There's a, you know,
Yeah.
well, I don't know what their reason is, but it must, or the universe is out to get me, or I can't catch a break. These are not even conscious thoughts, but it's just this level of like, bitterness and anger over feeling rejected.
Yes.
As opposed to, because Greg Fitzsimmons came on my show, and then I did his show, and I think this was in his show where he was where we were talking about. He was saying that there's not a lot of like, oh, I guess I just wasn't right for that in me. And I was thinking, oh wow, that is a completely different way of looking at it. To just think, I guess I wasn't right for that. And it's sort of liberating. I guess it would be liberating if I were to look at it that way. Sort of like that book, He's Just Not That Into You.
Yes.
Which I mean, people can make fun of that book, but I found that book really helpful.
Oh yeah, there's some smart shit in
Yeah, it's like, if he's doing this, this, and this, he's not out to fool you. It just means he's just not that into you. And like, it actually makes it much easier to just be like, okay, well then he's not the right one. I'm going to, look for someone else. I can't decide though, in terms of my career, how I want to look at it, because I don't know. There's truth in both ways of looking at it.
Well, imagine, here's a fun thought experiment.
All right. I enjoy fun.
Imagine this version of you. Imagine what you would be like if you were fully in that state of faith, as they call it, that the universe was a beautiful, perfect place, and that you are an expression of this infinite beauty, and that this entire thing is this one incredible class. And so suddenly, for all like those moments, like when you wake up and you forget that you exist in a universe where you're mortal, and there's like this, like right when you wake up,
I
and you're,
remember it really fast.
What?
I said I remember it really
But
fast.
you know those milliseconds
Yes.
of like,
Peace. Yeah.
just pure, like, this is great. Or like, think of the moments when you've been like the most in love with someone. That incredible feeling of like,
Bliss.
oh man, the fucking angels are singing. Or like, think of those okay, now imagine if you were like that all the time. Like you are always in that state of like, this is truly the best. And not only is it the best, but it's getting better and better and better at some kind of exponentially increasing rate, because we all seem to be part of this massive energy that's perfecting itself, harmonizing itself, while becoming ever more complex. And imagine if you could, like, not just intellectually think that, but feel it, this rushing sense of, like, you know, when you're having great sex and you know, like, an incredible orgasm's about to happen, but then you also know there's going to be many, many, many more times a million.
Yeah.
Imagine that state of, like, whoa, this is fucking great. Now, if you were in that state all the time, what would your auditions be like? How would people treat you? What would you be like? How attractive would you be if you were emanating that kind of certain glow, the kind of, like, transcendent glow where you're not even in this normal universe of phenomena that everybody else is? You really are, like, you've gotten outside of it. I mean, fuck, I think you'd probably book anything you wanted to book.
Yeah, because people want to be around that energy.
Yeah, people would be throwing flower petals at your feet. People would like, and you know the proof of that? Look at a fucking puppy. Look at a goddamn puppy.
I would like to look at a puppy.
I wish I had a puppy here.
I know.
Or a fucking kitten or a baby, some brand new thing that's still like rushing with that energy of, like, that thing that is still like, like so much part. All it is love, really. All it is like instinctual love.
Right.
Nothing more attractive than that.
I know.
Right?
I know.
So
I know.
that thing,
and when you find that in adult, it's like there's these people that walk around that emanate that, and there's something, they appear fearless, and I think that's what people are drawn to. They become these reminders that all the bullshit that's swimming around in your head maybe doesn't have to be so upsetting.
Hell yeah.
And that, yeah, you're right.
If you're in a room full of crying babies, the baby's going to stick out as the one that's laughing or happy, right?
Right.
So it's like we are in a fucking planet of crying babies. Like, everybody's having these internal seizures of fear, terror, horror, don't fit in, it's not going to work out, and everyone's freaking out. So, like, not only is it going to benefit you, no matter what your career is, whether you're a plumber, a prostitute, a fucking whatever the thing is, an actor, a writer.
Well, especially in performers. I mean, I think that is the thing that performers can provide to an audience, is this feeling that it's going to be okay. There's an escape. They provide an escape.
It's the greatest. When you get around those people,
Yeah.
it's like you've been in the rain and suddenly someone's holding an umbrella over your head for a second. It's like you realize, oh, whoa, I don't have to be a fear reaction in this life. I don't have to be a fear seizure. So that's why I think, like, that state, that's why in my mind, all I can think about is, like, the ultimate way to be is just to feel love all the time. I don't know how to get there, but I think that if there's a way to be in this life, then God damn it, as simplistic and deep Grateful Dead style hippie that is.
It's so true. And yet, it's like, this is one of those things that I feel like I can, like, almost hold on to it for a little while, and then it's gone. And then, you know, because like I said, like I was saying before, like, so on some level, like, I know this, and yet I can't make it my reality. You know, it's like, it takes discipline. Like, today I've been walking around in this kind of crappy mood. It's lifting now that we're talking about all this stuff, but I had been walking around this stupid mood because I put up an episode of my podcast, Alison Rosen, Your New Best Friend, went up late last night, early this morning, and on Twitter, people have been up my butt about the fact that there's an 18-minute intro, and they're like, 18 minutes of ads, blah, 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 blah. And I say it's like two people.
Yeah.
But inside, I'm thinking, you know, I could have made those ads shorter. I should have made those ads shorter. And the truth is that it's not 18 minutes of ads, though. That's the part, like, that's the sort of technicality that I'm like, ugh. You know, it's actually like there's an intro and there's segments and there's other stuff and there's some, you know, ads before the show. But when I really think about it, like, there's the element of truth is that, yes, I should have tried to be more concise. It's just that we do them live and there's a lot of joking around and they get longer, blah, blah, blah. But for some reason, it's just really weighing on me, the fact that this is just the negative tweets are really weighing on me. And then I was thinking, but they don't have to weigh on me. Like, am I happy with the work I'm doing? Am I happy with what I'm putting out there? And the truth is that, like I said, okay, I wish I had made them shorter, yes. And I know that, and that's something in general that I've been trying to work towards, and so maybe I'm a little disappointed in myself that I didn't make that a goal last night when I did that intro. But in general, I am happy with it, so why not focus on that? Like, I made a choice not to read the message boards anymore for the Adam Carolla show because it was just like, it was like bathing in poison every day. It was just making me unhappy. And since I've stopped, now I don't get now I'm not made unhappy by that, but I'm choosing to look at my Twitter @ replies, and I can't not, I don't think I won't, but I should probably be a little more deliberate with when I choose to look at them and how I choose to read them.
Now think about this. Think if we follow this all the way through, this slippery slope that you've created for yourself here. Let's think about we follow it all the way through. Which is that if you're going to let them determine your show, then where does it end?
I know.
Do you let them decide your topics? Or are you going to let them tell you what words to say and what words to not say? In this paradigm, where you start shifting because of people tweeting, then suddenly you are the puppet and they're the marionette.
Right.
Now, and the other thing about it is that if people didn't love your show, they wouldn't be complaining.
Yeah.
You don't hear people like tweeting shitty things about podcasts that are like number 198 on iTunes. They're not like, 20 minutes of ads.
Right.
No one's tweeting because no one's listening.
Right. And it's like, you don't hear people writing, well, maybe you do, but writing at like some TV show, like, there's too many commercials. Well, actually, you could imagine people saying there's too many commercials, but it's because it's my voice doing the ads, and it's a live read that they're, that it's being leveled at me.
But also,
I'm a face on it.
The other side of it is, hey, dumbass.
There's a fast forward button.
You can fast forward. It's not my fault. It couldn't be more
easy. They're not.
Idiot.
They're not even.
Dopes.
They're at the front of the show.
Forward, you,
I know.
You vegetables.
But I think
I'm talking about love. Now I'm just like throwing out venom. You fucking subhuman pigs. You cave dwelling backwoods Luddites. Fucking fast forward. It's free entertainment. Dipshits. If you can't use the mouse, if you don't know how to operate a mouse to jump forward a little bit, you shouldn't be on the fucking internet.
I know. But
I love you.
I love you too. But some of you, am I losing listeners because of this? Though that's what I start thinking.
We can't think about that.
I know.
You can't think about that.
It
all goes back to the greatest verse in the Bhagavad Gita, which I think about and try to remind myself all the time, which is, you have a right to your action. You do not have a right to the fruits of your action. What that means is you should only be concerned about your action. You can't be concerned. It means worry about the tweets. Don't worry about the @ replies. Just worry about that. And so that's where it gets back to this, like, what's your engine? What's the engine running the ship? What are you running your Starship Enterprise on? Are you running your Starship Enterprise on the desire for affirmation, fame, money, love, success? Or are you running the Starship Enterprise purely on the desire, as much as you can, to actualize this perfect version of yourself where you are just this pure ray of radiant, beautiful, faith-filled, transcendent love? And if that's even your fucking goal, then shit, everything else will work out. Mm-hmm. And if it doesn't on the way there, fuck them. Fuck them. You did no wrong. The only place you run into trouble is when you start, because by the way, I do this all the goddamn time, when you start considering like, oh shit, I better do this. Was that show funny? Maybe that show wasn't funny enough, or maybe I was too didactic, or maybe I talked too much, or the intro's too long, or what am I doing? I don't want to lie. I don't want a million listeners. I want a million, billion, trillion listeners, people.
I know. And then you get in that desperate, frantic state of starting to change things, and you don't trust yourself. And reconfigure, move the laboratory around. Let's adjust the test tubes. It's like, no. And the truth is that even if you do switch something around, then you're going to get 3 other people that feel like 300 saying they don't like that.
Damn right. And it's like, no matter what, you're always going to get caught in this state. So it's like, the more that we can and it's really difficult to do, but let fucking go. Just drop that fucking drop the bags, realize what your real job is. If there is a job in the universe, then your real job is to create a sense in the world around you that we're not living in some hellish Dante's Inferno style vortex of suffering. This place is fucking paradise, and give people this sense that, God damn it, you can do whatever you can really have a great life here. However that's my own personal idea. There's other ways to articulate it. If you just make that your goal, it's hard though. It's very hard when you get some of these trolls.
Yeah. but I feel like it shouldn't have to be, and yet it is. It's so hard to think myself into the right frame of mind when I get that stuff, because it just sort of tugs at such a deep level. I think
Yes.
part of it is that it's a disembodied voice, so it becomes, in my head, it's the voice of, you know, every bit of pain or rejection I've ever felt. It becomes it sort of, that's the frequency it vibrates on.
Yeah.
As opposed to being like, okay, this is someone who lives in this state, who does this, who has this, you know, it's not like so-and-so from this state who said this thing, who's one voice. Like, I try to imagine, you know, a stadium filled with all my listeners. And if I could just tune in to the thoughts or the comments of any one person there, it wouldn't be that devastating, because it's like, look at all of them.
Yes.
But it doesn't become that. It's like suddenly one voice is larger than the rest, and that becomes just a judgment over like the totality of me. It is, as I'm talking, it's insane that I give it that much power.
Oh,
it's
no.
insane.
Well, no, I don't think it's insane. Well, you know what it is it's like you've got this, like, you know, you do like the gobstopper model of the human, you know, the everlasting gobstopper with the different layers of candy. And
I know. I don't know how that's a metaphor for humanity, though.
well, for a human being, you have this gobstopper, and on that you have like all these different layers of like almost like sedimentary layers of yourself, and at the very top is the thing you show to the world, and then you start getting into your subconscious mind. And like the idea is, like, if you look at it, fuck the Godstopper idea, but if you look at it as like, you know, sedimentary layers, and there's certain, like, buried in certain parts of yourself are these old fossilized dinosaurs that represent past traumas.
Yeah.
So when you get like negative input, it's like the old hitting a tuning fork, and the other tuning fork will make a sound. So the external is a one tone, and then the internal calcified karmic structures that represent past traumas will start to vibrate.
Right.
And that feeling brings you back to the original pain, and then that creates a sense of like, oh, fuck. Yeah. Oh, fuck. It's not the troll that has the power. It's that they're causing a part of yourself to resonate that you've probably been trying to avoid.
Right.
But the idea is, like, underneath that, this is what people like that fucking guy up there says, Maharaji, and like the really super advanced people say, is that deep, deep underneath all that is just love. Like, in the way that like the core of the earth is just like molten iron. The idea is that like the very core of what we are is just pure love. So that's this kind of like crazy thing where you can actually just anytime, if you really just slow down and breathe, you can almost feel it, like even in your most stressed out places, and it'll make you feel crazy because you almost feel guilty, like, how the fuck in the middle of like all of this wild horror around me can I find this sense of like, oh man, this is cool. This is really cool. I mean, it might be a tiny little tiny trickle thing, but if the more you keep going back to that point underneath all the weird shit that's being activated by negative phenomena, I think the more that'll grow, and that'll become less of a little thing, and that'll become a louder thing, so that other shit won't even affect you.
Is this what you do when you meditate? Like, does that, I mean, because meditating, you're not really focusing on anything, right? That's the point, is to sort of not be focused on anything.
I think it depends on the type of meditation you're doing. This is not like, this isn't for I mean, I will, when I meditate, I chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo and just chant that chant, and then like, you know, my mind goes crazy and whatever. Meditation is like, as I understand it, is using it, is like creating a distance from the repetitive thought patterns in your mind, so you can kind of see like, oh Jesus, it's a vortex in here that never ends. It's just a spinning vortex of like endless thought loops that I don't have to really pay attention to anymore. Or even worse, like these thought loops have been trying to convince me that that's who I am. You know, it's like, oh, that's not me. That's just some vestigial part of what, you know, humanity used to be. I'm not some wild whirlwind of nonsense. So meditation will maybe create the distance, but it's, I mean, it's all part of the same. The idea is like, well, I mean, it depends on what you want to do, but I think the idea is just as much as possible to try to like get under. I guess it's meditation. I don't know what my stammering here is like. I think about what the fuck is meditation. I don't even know. I think about it all the time. I have no idea. I don't know.
Well, I mean, but I guess the reason I'm asking is because the idea of just going inward and finding that little bit of pure love at the core and sort of taking solace in that when your head's going nuts. That sounds like that's a deliberate activity. It's a deliberate action you take. It's saying, I feel all of this, but I'm going to try to create a different feeling by going inward. And I'm asking, like, for you, do you consciously do that in the course of your day?
Yeah, I'll try. Affirmations are great. There's so many simple little things you can do. This psychic masseuse told me, like, you can even just look outside and be like, just looking at the sky, find something real that's beautiful. Really just look at the sky and be like, the sky is blue. That's a nice blue. Just that, whatever the thing is. And then just that can create the shift to get you out of it'll just move the resonance away from the old fucking dinosaur bones closer to that core thing, which is really what they say. That's what you are. Like all the other shit is just like, blips in the field of time. But really what you are is this kind of infinite love ball.
Right.
I mean, they don't call it a love ball. They call it,
I wish they did.
They call it the Atman, I believe, or the para Atman. There's a lot of weird names for it, but yeah, just the affirmations, man. Because that's the reason people love your podcast so much and love you so much. Is like that comes out of you all the time. Like,
thanks.
It does, and you know it. It's just like we get distracted from it. It's an easy thing to get distracted from it, and you start acting from the other parts of yourself.
Sometimes I almost feel like a bit of a hypocrite or a fraud because I think if people knew how often, despite the sort of the way I come off on the podcast, if people knew how often I walk around in like a shitty mood, although I talk about that on my podcast though, but how much that I am like not as just how often I'm consumed by stupid, petty, negative shit, and how often I'm like kind of in a bad mood and I'm like, I don't feel like doing anything, and I wake up and I'm in a bad mood, and I'm in a bad mood because I wake up in a bad mood, and just all of that shit, like, because then it's like that's not exactly what my podcast is about. Then again, my podcast is about admitting to that stuff, though. So
sure, you gotta. Then and everyone thinks they're a goddamn fraud because we are frauds because we gotta act like something,
right?
I was just telling a friend of mine the truth, like telling him something that happened to me that was a secret, but it was the truth, and I was telling him, and his response was, "You are such a bad liar," and I'm telling him the truth. I'm like, no, he said, no, he goes, "You're such a bad actor," is what he said. "You are such a bad actor." I'm telling him the truth. I'm thinking, well, then I'm bad at acting like me.
Right.
Because I'm like, I'm telling you the truth. And then I was like, oh, that's fucking awesome. Like, we're all fraudulent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
even when we're being ourselves.
Yeah, we're still like acting. Right. You're still putting on a show, So the sense of fraudulence, hypocrisy, and all the things that many people will let shut them up. You got to understand that's like a fish being upset because it feels wet. It's like being in a human body. You're gonna feel like a fraud because you're wearing a fucking mask. It just happens to be a mask that's made of meat and organs and with a skeleton in the middle of it, but it's still a fucking mask, that's wrapped around that goddamn ball of sweet, juicy, transcendent love. That's who you really are.
You know what I've been thinking about recently is just I forget what got me thinking about it, but I was thinking about how much we as people, as an individual, like how much human beings are affected by other human beings, and like on levels that we're not even aware of. And then I was thinking, like, imagine if you're just sitting in a field and then another person shows up that you don't know. The other person in the field, but if you see them, like, it's going to change your entire demeanor. You could, if you're just reading a book in this imaginary field, there's no way you could continue reading without being hyper aware of where this other person is.
Yeah.
I forget the point of why I was thinking
Fucking
about this,
awesome, though. What a
but-
great thought experiment that is. You're so right.
Yeah.
You could, like, a bear could show. Well, a bear's going to change the way you act, but I mean, a squirrel. A bear's going
Apparently,
to
squirrel is the ultimate insignificant creature.
Poor squirrel.
I know.
No, yeah, a squirrel could show up and you're like going to be fine. Oh man, yeah, it's so interesting to think about that. Like, you know, the next time you find yourself alone and doing like something that you do in private, whatever the thing may be, using the bathroom.
I was going to say, yeah.
It's a fun thing you can do, which is really weird, is imagine if people are watching you. Right? Like, think about that and how it's just like what you're saying in a much more vulgar way. But it's like, but imagine if you could get to the way that you are when you're completely alone in a state of not caring at all.
In front of people.
All the time.
Yeah. You know, there's these moments.
You shouldn't
of it.
shit in front of people ever. But I mean, like, that sense of like.
But there's moments of it, and it almost feels like you're violating something, I think. Like, there's these moments where I'll be on stage and someone will ask me a question that's like I have this bad, in a way, it's almost a bad habit. If it's my show and it's a live one and someone asks me a question, I feel compelled to answer it. And then I'm like, what? Like, I did this live show at Nerd Melt, and somehow the topic was like, how many people you've slept with, and like, at what point are you a slut based on the number? It was an email someone had sent. So I decided, so we brought it up. And so someone asked me how many people I've slept with, and I answered. And then I was like, what about you guys? And there were 3 other people on stage, all guys, and none of them would answer. And I was like, I can't believe you guys are just leaving me hanging
Oh
here.
my God. Who are you with? Don't say any names.
I won't.
I'll judge them forever.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean,
That's 'cause
that
they're
doesn't
embarrassed.
really, right. That doesn't
You're
really.
probably with a bunch of like Star Trek fans who like don't get laid.
That one doesn't really even matter, but there's other things, other times where I've just found myself telling some story or telling some personal detail that I never thought I would ever tell people. And then I almost feel like it's weird. It feels weirdly like an act of aggression almost to put that out there. And I don't know why.
To put out the truth?
Yeah. If it's a truth that you feel uncomfortable about and that like, you know what it is? It's going against this idea that we all have of like a polite person would not put this out there.
What is the number one thing that child molesters tell a kid after they molest them?
This is our little secret?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And society tells that to all of us. Mm-hmm. You know, all these things, keep this secret and that secret and conceal that and conceal that. And every time you have the courage to reveal the truth about how you feel or how you really operate, you're freeing so many people who suddenly are like, oh, thank God I'm not alone. I thought I was a monster.
Yeah.
I thought I was a fraud. I thought I was a hypocrite. I thought I was a pig. Every time you do that, you relieve a little bit of this pressure that the molesting, rampaging totality of our society has done to our brains.
You're right. You're right. Society is like a giant molester. There's so much that tells you to suppress it.
Yeah, don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
If you tell anyone, I'll kill you.
Yeah, or if you tell anyone, you'll lose the affections of all these people, and you'll bring shame onto yourself and people. And I'm not talking about molesting. I'm just talking about so much of the stuff that we, that's not part of our mask.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why it's transgressive. That's the word I was looking for. It feels like a transgression to put this stuff out there.
Oh yeah. Well, but the more you do it, the more you the feedback you get from people quite often is like, thank you for talking about that. It's been bothering me so much. You become an exorcism at that point. 'Cause man, when I've been around like super depraved or people I would consider depraved, or even like if you go and watch like Doug Stanhope perform, you will walk out of there feeling fucking great because that guy like is so honest about everything that you're like, oh, okay. This is how you're supposed to be. You're not supposed to be this like pretending to be some perfect thing. We are.
Can you think of any women who do that though?
Let me think about that for a second. Well, I think there's like, I've seen like, you mean on stage?
Yeah, in general, I just mean, because I was thinking of Jim Norton for a second, and I was like, he's someone who lets it all hang out in that way. But then I was thinking that, well, I think probably society allows women to do it a little bit. Like for women, that it's even narrower what you're allowed.
Which is why it's even more important that you do it.
Right, but I'm just wondering, because I think I do it, but I'm just saying, who can you think of women out there who are doing that?
I think women are doing it in their own way. I mean, I think the more it just depends on the more you're just being yourself, the better, like, goddamn, Sarah Silverman doesn't seem to
That's true.
Pull any punches when she's up there. She's just like fully herself, and it's brilliant and like amazingly offensive in the most wonderful way. So yeah, I think that I do know what you mean, though. There's more of a I think there just like that idiot the question that moron saying, like, I'm gonna go to sleep before you're a slut. That's a dumb question.
Yeah.
Like, that's just an innately misogynistic, fucked up question.
Well, to be fair to the person, it was I think she said that her mom was making her feel it was and she just wanted to know, like, what's my take on that.
Well, look, I think that one of there is a war happening right now, and the war is between truth and lies. And so if you want to be part of the revolution, every time you have a chance to tell the truth, it's like winning a small skirmish in this weird revolution that's happening.
But for you fuckwads listening, that doesn't mean saying something shitty to someone and saying you're just speaking your truth.
No.
Don't abuse truth.
No, and don't confuse aggression with truth.
Yes.
It's an easy thing. Like, I used to be lazy, and I confused my laziness and apathy as a kind of revolutionary attitude. Like, I'm being a little fucking revolutionary by not working hard or being broke all the time. Like, no, that's not it. And this is why, if you start from this, like, if you just pretend for a moment that you have at your core this beautiful fucking love field, and you pretend that in the same way that when a dick makes you feel bad, it's not the asshole who has power over you, it's the fact that they're causing the part of you inside, the calcified skeleton of some past trauma, to vibrate and make you feel bad. It's not them. Or in the same, like in that same way, when you feel love and you're falling in love with someone, it's not the person that's injecting love into you, but they're causing the deepest part of yourself to resonate and reminding you of what you really are.
Right.
So in that same way, if you entertain that idea and make your first step, as much as you can, reflect that idea and then tell the truth, that's what Ram Dass's guru told him, is don't stop being angry and tell the truth. Those were the two things he told him. Drop your anger, tell the truth. And that was like a real mind fuck for Ram Dass, because he's like, well, what the fuck does that mean? Like, I'm angry. Like, I feel angry. I want to tell the truth. But if you can, like, put those bags down, god damn. And then you start tell the truth when you feel love. Think of the truths you tell when you're in love with someone.
Right.
What you start saying to them. You're so scared to even tell them because you love them so much. But think of the things that come out of your mouth.
I know.
How beautiful and sweet they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone actually said something, I think it was on Twitter. But to me, or no, maybe it was a blog. I forget. It's not important. But they said that their therapist told them that being vulnerable, the only way to have intimacy is to be vulnerable and to tell those things you don't want to tell.
Yes.
And I was like, that is such a like easy mathematical breakdown of all of that. So the idea being, if you want to experience intimacy, but you aren't revealing things about yourself, you can't. And I had never looked at it that way. I had looked at them as like kind of two separate things. But to realize that they actually are intertwined, and if you just, whatever that thing is you're afraid to tell someone, if you just in the right circumstance, if you tell them, usually it will make you guys closer.
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, and you can't, look, by the way, you don't have to be a fucking extremist about this shit out there. You don't have to like suddenly like vomit every single deep dark secret that you have. Just entertain the idea of like trying to live in some approximation of this. And it's fun. God damn it. Every time you finally tell that thing that's been bugging you, think how good it feels. Like, it's just such a relief.
Unless someone tells you that you're a bad actor, right?
No, you mean that's their truth? I feel like they need to tell you you're a bad actor.
Oh no, I mean you were telling a story that you told your friend something that was true, and he told you were a bad actor.
Well, again, you got to go back to like not being we're not doing this to engender reaction.
Right.
We're doing this to try to like just purely be a representation of this idea that everything's great as much as you can. It's a real tricky thing, but the real tricky thing is we can't be concerned about the way people react. Oh, that's the thing. So whatever, if someone tells you you're a bad actor, well, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
You know, but whatever, if the universe hisses back at you and you do this, which usually it doesn't. But if the universe hisses back at you, whatever part of the universe is hissing back at you is reacting to truth.
Yeah.
Like a vampire reacts to light. So maybe you'll get the parts of your universe that aren't so into truth the fuck out of your life. Maybe they'll naturally be repelled by your new, direction you're heading in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, there is that thing. This is a very, sort of a mundane, tangent off of that. But this idea of, okay, you have all these followers or listeners or whatever, and not wanting to alienate them by sharing your political views or your whatever it is. But then again, if you do, well, okay, this is just, instead of being so vague, I could, Adam has a pretty conservative listenership.
Sure.
And I am liberal. And I think people pretty much know that. I don't talk about it all the time. But because I'm not really that strident politically.
Sure.
But there are times where I'm worried that I'm going to get a bunch of shit for something that I said, which I do often. But I think that if I were less afraid of the negativity that would come at me if I were to say these certain things, and instead I were to just feel okay with being more forthcoming, it would probably mean I would lose some listeners, but I would gain some people who are going to be actually like the real people who would want to hear what I have to say anyway.
Yes. That's it. You're only going to get the ideas if you really are reflecting the truth from where you are right now. And the truth from where you are right now might not be the truth from where you are a week from now.
Right.
5 hours from now, or, like this is like, there's a great story of Gandhi about to do some big march, and he, suddenly he stops. He's like, oh, we can't do this march. I just realized this isn't the right thing to do. And they're like, we've told everyone that we're going to do this. We have to do it. And he said, I am, oh God, let me think of the right quote. I have to be more concerned with the truth than with being consistent. I have to be more concerned with telling the truth than being consistent.
Oh, that's so good.
Isn't that good?
Yeah.
And that it's not always going to be consistent. And what you're not always going to like be this thing that stays the same forever. So yeah, the more that you just go purely, it's just, you end up like, no matter what, you just end up like cutting away all these weights that are slowing you down anyway. The more you kind of like what we were saying in the beginning, you're thinking about what you're going to do instead of just purely being in the action. You're thinking about the reaction instead of being in the action.
Right.
You're letting the reaction determine how you're going to act, and that creates a dissonance. It creates a weird stutter in your ability to purely just be.
Right.
And yeah, if you purely are just yourself, everything tends to work out a million times better than you expect. Yeah, and if some fucking right-wing Glenn Beck worshipping fucking seed bank gold buying fiscal cliff obsessed misogynist dipshits decide they don't like you anymore, congratulations. Good job. That's
you.
like getting roaches out of your house. Do you really want those freaks squirming around in the shadows of your podcast? Let them, fuck them.
Yeah.
Scare them off. Let them, we got to drive these old pigs into the shadows. I love you, old pigs. But, but You want them in the shadows.
Yeah.
The more you can make them feel, because you know what these old fucking, you know what the patriarchy has been doing, these Republican goddamn crackers, in the sense of what, you know what the term cracker really comes from, right?
I don't think I do, actually.
Not from like Ritz crackers,
Right.
but they call, black people call them crackers because they fucking hit them with police batons.
Oh, God, I did not know
The more
that.
we can get these fucking crackers
Jesus.
into the goddamn shadows, and it's not just white people who are crackers, it's people of all shapes and colors, but the more we get the oppressors to feel embarrassed by their bullying and what they've been doing, and the more we do to them, well, now, god damn it, we can't do to them what they did to us, because then we're guilty of their fucking
I know, I hate that. I know what you mean, though.
well,
The more we
something.
expose it, shine a light on it.
Yeah, something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Shine a light. Make them feel bad. Make them reconsider. And just, you're awesome. Just don't worry about
you.
these sons of bitches. You got a great podcast. This is so fucking fun to talk to you.
Thank
It's
you.
been an hour and a half. I feel like a second has flown by.
I know.
Please come back.
I would love to, and you have to come back and do mine.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Mm-hmm.
And where can people find your podcast, your Twitter?
On Twitter, I'm Alison Rosen, at Alison Rosen, and my podcast, Alison Rosen is Your New Best Friend. You can find that on iTunes, or if you go to my website, AlisonRosen.com, you can find that. And there's a special live episode. We did a live episode from the LA Podcast Festival, and the guests are Doug Benson and Greg Proops, and that's the one episode that is that costs money. The others are all free. But that one, if you feel like, you know, splurging for the premium episode,
How much is it?
It's $1.99.
If you guys feel like splurging with $2, go check it out. If you really want to stretch.
Yeah, right, exactly.
$2.
If you've put some money together for a rainy day, you could spend it on that, and that is in the iTunes store in the comedy album section. But otherwise, it's just podcast.
Guys, subscribe to this podcast. It's a wonderful podcast. I was on it once. Totally love this human being. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
This
This has been great. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, bye. Hare Krishna.
Okay, y'all, that was Alison Rosen. If you like her, please go subscribe to her podcast, follow her on Twitter. The information will be at DuncanTrussell.com. Yo, fist bump to y'all for listening. If you like the podcast, why not give us a nice rating on iTunes? Keep it real. Don't love anybody. Be hard on yourself and hide your emotions from everybody. This is Alpha Duncan signing out, bitch. And here's a little bit of real music. Some Bushwick Bill and the Ghetto Boys. And they're saying, yo, fuck a war. You can download this on iTunes, bitches.